everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for bringing me back. Always a pleasure to revisit the president's publishing side hustle.
Yes, and this is something you and I have talked about before, but you have some reporting on how much President Trump exactly made last year from 3 books. Something interesting about these books, they contain mostly on their pages work that wasn't done by him. To start off the conversation, talk to us exactly how much he made last year.
Yeah, so the president made $3.4 million from three books that he put out through Winning Team Publishing. That is a press company that was co-founded by his son, Donald Trump Jr., and also Sergio Gore, who's been a Trump political operative as well. So, $3.4 million as an author, not a bad return for any author.
And yeah, that's not bad at all. So I want to talk about each of the books. So first we have Our Journey Together, that was published in 2021. Letters to Trump was released in 2023. And then Save America was put out in 2024. So talk to us about each of the books and how much he made from them and what's in the book.
So Our Journey Together is the first book that came out after he left the White House, and it was largely a compilation of photos that the official White House photographer had took. So these are pictures that are in the public domain. Anybody could have used them. He did, and he put this book out there. And in the last year, he made $155,000 from it. Now, this is on top of what he's made since 2021. So, we're also looking at the millions of dollars total for this book. Obviously, did well. So what do you do when a book or a movie or any piece of art does well? You come up with a follow-up. The second one that came out was Letters to Trump. That was a similar issue where here he was using letters that other people had written him. So again, we're looking at material that other people created. They weren't necessarily, asked if they wanted to do this. Going to go, it's had assumed, Hillary Clinton wasn't too fond of having her correspondence in there. Some of them, like Princess Diana, were not alive to ask to use it, but he put that book out there as well. Last year, it earned $250,000. And then the third book, the one that came out in the final stretch of the 2024 campaign, was Save America. That was another compilation of photos from Trump's presidency. It looks like some of them were used from wire services, though, in his presidential library. So some photographers may have been paid for this. That book made him $3 million in just the 3.5 months or so that it was on the market, which is really impressive. With each one of these books, he did add some of his own flourishes there. He would write some captions. He supposedly was the one who chose which photos were picked as well. So, solid little side hustle he has there. And the big question I have is he going to release another book while in office? It would seem fiscally not prudent to refrain from doing so. And this term, we're certainly seeing that Trump has the gloves are off when it comes to trying to profit from the presidency.
Yeah, I mean, based on your reporting, based on the entire Money in Politics team reporting here at Forbes, is that any way President Trump can make money, he's doing it. I am curious, though, who was purchasing this book? It sounds like at least the last one in just a couple of months brought in some serious cash.
Yeah. It's we don't have great sales figures on this because the industry trackers that monitor this kind of thing, they look at retail sales. So if you were buying them from Amazon or your local bookstore, they would be able to track that. Most of these purchases look like they were coming direct from the publisher, Winning Team Publishing. And so we don't have numbers for that. The books go anywhere from $75 to $100 on that website right now. So, it is something that's, we're not looking at $3 million out of, from $15 books. They are, pretty high, but it's still, a fair amount of copies that must have been sold, even at that $99 price tag for him to bring in enough money for the publishing company to pay him $3 million.
Zach, before our conversation, I was actually going back on Our Journey Together when we talked about that book a couple of years ago. And this is what I found in my notes, that you've reported that Trump used a private family company to publish a work of mostly taxpayer-subsidized material, then boosted sales with donor funds. Talk to us about that journey from the book.
Sure. So the last part that you added there is that he and purchased, and other Republican political committees had bought copies of the books. If you look through FEC filings, public data for Winning Team Publishing, you can see that there have been payouts from Republican political committees to that organization. And then you can look online. It's typically a site called WinRed, which is the Republican fundraising platform. Its website offers copies of those books in exchange for donations to Trump political committee or other political committees. So what you've got is campaign funds being used for the book, to buy the book, and then the book being used to get even more campaign funds back to the president and his political allies.
I mean, it's an interesting way to kind of double dip there. Do you think that would be the correct way to put it? Double dip when it comes to campaign funds? And is that illegal? Is that unethical? Is that just President Trump finding a loophole? What does that really look like?
Yeah, he's not alone in doing that. There are a lot of campaigns where they buy the candidate's book. FEC laws are that you can do it. The book is supposed to be purchased at cost, and then if you're using campaign funds to buy the book, the lawmaker shouldn't be able to receive any royalties from that. So, whether that's done or not, we don't know. I've reached out to dozens of politicians regarding this practice, and not one has been forthright enough to share contract with me, unfortunately. I will keep asking though.
So he's made a pretty penny just in the past year alone on these three books: Our Journey Together, Letters to Trump, and Save America. But what are the critics saying? Is this book well received?
It's we're America. We're split. It's well received if you like Trump guys. Not so much. There are people who said it was. I think it was a reviewer for New York Magazine, I believe, said it was like less of a cynical crash grab than you might think, which I guess is positive. I don't know. It's not exactly effusing praise for the book there. I did see it recently I was visiting my parents in the Boston area, and they had copies of two of the books were for sale at a Barnes and Noble. So I was very surprised to see it at a retailer in liberal Massachusetts, but apparently Barnes and Noble thinks that it's a good enough investment for it to have a whole table full of them on display.
And so then tell us more about the publisher, Winning Team Publishing. Donald Trump Jr. is involved in this. What other books are they putting out?
They've put out a bunch of other books from conservative authors. I believe Charlie Kirk was one of them. Janine Pirro. It's he founded this a lot. The line is that Donald Trump Jr. founded it after having put out books in the mainstream publishing industry that did well, but then he claims that he was unable to get a follow-up deal because they're just shutting out conservative voices. So he launched his own imprint along with Sergio Gore, and that's what's been putting out his dad's books and some other conservative authors.
And so is this imprint doing well? Because as you noted in this conversation, I mean, we're America, we're split. The names that you mentioned are firebrand names that would really only resonate with half the country, given the politics of this country and given the political in nature themes of these people and I assume the books.
Yeah, we don't really know how the publisher company is doing overall, except to say we only get a little bit of glimpses when some of the government officials who published through it, like Donald Trump, put out disclosures showing how much money they've made from it. So, we have no idea. We have no idea if Donald Trump's contract with this company has actually been a terrible deal for the company. There's certainly examples out there where, Donald Trump has entered into business arrangements that were not favorable to the person he's involved with. This is his son. Maybe it's a little different, but we don't know exactly how Winning Team Publishing is doing there on its own. Just see what, how much it's paid the president.
And so I know you said you're interested to see if there's going to be a book in his second term. Do you think we're going to see Art of the Deal 2? Do you think it's more beneficial for him to just be using pictures from other people and putting them out? What are you actually looking out for?
Oh, absolutely. Why would he pay a ghost author when he can just get free, or ghostwriter when he can just get free material? We're now few months into a second term, give it a year or two, maybe that's going to be enough material that he can go ahead and put out one, maybe put out one every year, bring it out for the Christmas market. It's speculation on my part, but I would not be surprised to see this happen.
And I'm sure that this is not our last conversation here with these books. Thank you so much, Zach. I always appreciate the conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.